Hello YouTube, it's the Utopian Buddha. Today I am reading The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. This is such a beautiful book. I literally opened the first chapter and it touched my heart so deeply I started getting all teary-eyed and stuff. So I'm going to read that to you, okay? Here it is. The Master. Once upon a time, a master was talking to a crowd of people. And his message was so wonderful that everyone felt touched by his words of love. In the crowd, there was a man who had listened to every word the master had said. The man was very humble, and he had a great heart. He was so touched by the master's word that he felt the need to invite the master to his home. When the master finished speaking, the man walked through the crowd, looked into the eyes of the master, and told him, "I know you are busy and everyone wants your attention. And I know you hardly have the time to listen to my words. But my heart is so open and I feel so much love for you that I have the need to invite you to my home. I want to prepare the best meal for you. I don't expect you will accept, but I just had to let you know." The master looked into the man's eyes with the most beautiful smile and said, "Prepare everything. I will be there." Then the master walked away. At these words, the joy in the man's heart was strong. He could hardly wait to serve the master and to express his love for him. This would be the most important day of his life. The master was going to be with him. He bought the best food and wine and found the most beautiful clothes to offer as a gift to the master. Then he ran home to prepare everything to receive the master. He cleaned his entire house, prepared the most wonderful meal, and made the table look beautiful. His heart was full of joy because the master would soon be there. The man was waiting anxiously when someone knocked at the door. Eagerly, he opened the door, but instead of the master, he found an old woman. She looked into his eyes and said, "I am starving. Can you give me a piece of bread?" The man was a little disappointed because it was not the master. He looked at the woman and said, "Please come into my house." He sat her in the place he had prepared for the master and gave her the food he had made for the master. That's key right there. He sat her, the starving woman, in the place that he had prepared for the master. That is such a profound, non-dualistic thought. The old woman was touched by the generosity of this man. She thanked him and left. The man had barely finished preparing the table for the master again when someone knocked at the door. This time it was another stranger who had traveled across the desert. The stranger looked into the man's face and said, "I am thirsty. Can you give me something to drink?" The man was a little disappointed again because it was not the master. He invited the stranger into his home and sat him in the place he had prepared for the master. He served the wine he had intended for the master, even though wine is dehydrating and the guy is thirsty, but whatever, we're just going to go with the story. Someone knocked at the door again. When the man opened the door, there stood a child. The child looked up at the man and said, "I am freezing. Can you give me a blanket to cover my body?" The man was a little disappointed because it was not the master, but he looked into the eyes of the child and felt love in his heart. Quickly, he had gathered the clothes that he intended to give the master. He covered the child with the clothes. The child thanked him and left. So slowly he put the food away. He put the wine away. He went to the bed. That night he dreamed the master came to his house. The man was happy to see him, but he didn't know that he was dreaming. "Master, you came. You kept your word." The master replied, "Yes, I am here, but I was here before. I was hungry and you filled my need for food. I was thirsty and you gave me wine. I was cold and you covered me with clothes. Whatever you do for others, you do for me. Whatever you do for other people, you do for God." The man woke up and his heart was filled with happiness because he understood what the master had taught him. The master loved him so much that he had sent 3 people. Oh God. Sorry guys, excuse me.
No, that's great.
Yay, I'm too.
The master loved him so much that he had sent 3 people to give the greatest lesson. The master lives within everyone. When you give food to one who is starving, when you give water to one who is thirsty, when you cover the one who is cold, you give love to the master. All right, that's it. That ended there. All right, guys. That was The Mastery of Love by Don Miguel Ruiz. A great story. I guess I can do a little commentary on it now. So I really, the first time I read that, my heart was so touched. My heart was so touched. I was like getting all teary-eyed and stuff. I got really teary-eyed. My heart was opening. It was such a beautiful experience, and it really, showed me what the purpose is of my life and the life of, anyone who's walking the straight and narrow path of spirituality, and that's to negate the self in service of the other, right? So, and then I want to make this point, and then I'll end with this. When you read something of spiritual value, right, the spiritual seeds of this book should not fall on unfertile soil. It should fall on fertile ground. Your soul and your mind has to be prepared to receive the lessons of any spiritual book. Otherwise, they're just words. So when you read something, really use your visual imagination, your moral and spiritual and compassionate imagination to understand these things. So that's all I got to say, guys. Have a good one.